So there was a question in the forum, someone wondering, this is the default behavior. I've just made a simple project with a grid. Someone was wondering how the initial click here on the sort could be made to descending, because the default behavior is it goes to ascending and then reverse to descending. So they're wondering how they would make the first click descending. So I'm going to answer that question, but more importantly, I'm going to show you how we would go about solving this. It's not a built-in feature with Studio, so you have to dig a little bit. So let's go through it. It's going to be on the fly, so there may be a couple jumps to go. But the first thing I would do, I looked in the documentation and I saw there's a couple API methods that we can pay attention to. One is set sort indicator, and all this does is it takes the index of the column and lets you set the order ascending or descending. So I'm going to keep that command in mind. Also, there's order by in the data sources, so this allows you to sort a data source and its current selection by a certain column. So let's go back to our grid here. The first thing I want to do is I want to investigate what's going on. So I'm going to hit on Mac Option Command J and bring up the developer tools. And we're going to go into Elements here. I'm going to grab this little magnifying glass. I'm just going to get in close and find the actual sort indicator here. So here's the element here. So all I want to do is I want to observe what happens when we do sort. So if I go here to network, I've cleared it, so there's nothing here. We'll go back to elements. So the first thing I'm going to watch, when I click wholesale, what happens here? I saw some movement down here. So we've got, okay, if I'm looking at the structure here of the DOM, you can see here I've got WAF data grid cell. This is the CSS, so a class that specifies a data grid cell. And then you can see here I've got ID, description, wholesale, retail, inventory. So this here is a class that's giving me an indicator how I can possibly work with this. So when we did that sort, and I just looked for movement. So there was movement here. So let's do that again. So nothing's changing there. So let's go into description. And if we look in description, I'll keep clicking, and you can see right there, this will change as we, so you can see here what it's doing. It's swapping in and out a CSS class called WAF sort, ascending and descending. So that gives me something to work with. Now, one thing you would think off the bat is I could just swap that CSS class in and out, and that would be my answer. That's a possibility, but when I look at set sort indicator, I'd prefer to use something built into the API, because there may be other things behind the scenes, variables, etc., that get set when you do the set sort indicator. It may not be the case, but I'd prefer to use that API command if I can, just to be safe. So I see how this is working a bit. You see we've got two icons here. Let's see how those are affected when we do the sort. Nothing that I can see. So I'm thinking that probably the CSS just hides or shows the appropriate arrow. Okay, so I've got an idea there. Now the next thing we have, I should have brought this up. We have an event on the grid, so I'll just go into the help here, and I know it's on header click, I think it is. So here's on header click. This is for the grid. So you can do an on header click event for a grid, and I know this is going to be part of it because we're going to intercept the automatic behavior. And I'm going to go to, so let's go here, click on the grid, and I'll do an on header click. And the first thing I'll tell you that I know about on header click is once you put something in here, the default um, sorting of the header gets overridden. So right away this is no longer going to work. I'll save that and go back to the actual application. We'll reload. And now if I click description, I've got a debugger in there. Let me take the debugger out and save, just to demonstrate that the sort will no longer work. So you can see I'm clicking here and no sort's happening. So we've hijacked, just by putting in this event, we've hijacked that. So I'm going to put in a debugger and we're going to see what's going on. You can see it's passing in an event object. So we'll do a refresh, click, we've got our debugger. So in the, I'm going to look at the event object, and the event object passes in the DOM element, which is, if you hover over, you can see now I'm in Google Chrome. You can see that that's grabbing the entire header of that column. The resize indicator, you can see it's it gives you the DOM element of the resize indicator and the sort indicator, and this is the one we're interested in. So you can see that it's giving us, and that's spelled out in the documentation of which one in here. So there's the three things you get. You get the sort indicator, and this is the one we're interested in, probably this one as well. Okay, so how are we going to do this? So what we need to do is we need to, in this on header click, we need to find out which column was clicked, and we need to find out if it has a direction already, and then we need to sort accordingly using the data source on order by. I'm going to bring that up as well. Order by. So it's under client side, data source, server data sources, order by. And I want to open that in a new tab if I can. I guess not. Well, we'll do a new one. Let me get back to that. Sorry, data source and order by. Okay, so we have all of our documentation that we're going to use to figure this problem out. Okay, so for the set sort indicator, I know I'm going to need the index here of which column it is. So that's the first thing I'm going to work towards. So we've got the DOM element of the header. So if we go, let's take a look at, I'll just run this through, well, let's try it here. Make a new watch expression. And we'll go event dot, and I believe it was DOM. So this is the entire header of the clicked element. So event.dom, and that gives us the actual element. So we're going to use a little jQuery here, and we're going to actually pass in that DOM element, and there's a jQuery selector called parent. So what is this getting us? That's getting us the entire header. Now the interesting thing about this is in the parent we can see all the child nodes. Okay, so what I'm going to work towards is I've got a reference to the parent here, is I'm going to work towards identifying which position in that parent the event header is. So I'm thinking how we can do that. So the one thing we don't have is we don't have an ID. You can see the ID of the event DOM object is empty. We do have that unique class, which is this one here, the data grid column with description. So we can match that to indicate that would be specific to this DOM element, so that we might be able to use that. So I think what we'll have to do is we'll have to iterate through the parent object's children. So I'm just going to edit this watch statement. So parent gives us, where are we here? Parent gives us the children in here, inside, but we want an actual array of just the children. So I'm going to go out to parent and then back down to use the selector children. And this should just give us an array of the children. There we go. So we've got each of the children in an array. So I'm going to keep this reference. I'm going to use that. And what we're going to do is we're going to iterate through this array that's being returned by jQuery and match it to this DOM element here. And when they are equivalent, we know we've got our index. So let's write a function for that first. So, got our event object. So the first thing we're going to do is var children array equals, or we'll call it children DOM. Array is good. Okay, so this is all the children equals, and we're just going to take this watch statement that we just figured out, and we're going to put it right here. So that will give us the array. And just to be sure, let's put debugger there, and let's refresh. And when we click, we should get children array. Let's see what it is now. We'll add a new watch statement. This should be an array of DOM elements. There we go. So we have them. Now we're going to iterate through. So we'll go ahead and do children array dot each, and this is going to iterate through each one of those elements. Now the way this works is you pass in a function, and there's two parameters that come in: the index that it's currently evaluating and the value in that index. So what we'll do is inside of, so each iteration we will check if, so we'll add another variable here, var clicked index equals, we'll just do 0 for now. Well, actually we'll do null, so we know it's nothing. So if value, which should be the DOM element, equals event dot DOM, and it's in the first position of the array, then we know we've got our index. So clicked index equals index, which is the current value that we're on. So that should give us our index. Now I'm going to go to a second video here, and we'll pick up from here. Okay, I just went through and increased the, verified my YouTube account so we can go longer than 15 minutes. So I'll just keep going here. So I'm going to check how we're making out here and see what kind of, I just like to check progress along the way. So we'll do a refresh. I'm going to click wholesale. Now the index starts at 0. So 0, 1, 2, we should get 2 when we go through. So clicked index 2, it's working, so we have it. Now, we have our index. We can do the set sort indicator now, but we also need to do, so let's do that first, but we'll need to take care of the actual sort soon. So let's take a look at the documentation for set sort indicator, the column, and the sort order. So we're going to go, we need to get the current sort order likely, because you know it's not always going to be the first click. So okay, we've got our index. Let's document that. Okay, so we've got the index of the click column. Next thing we need to do is determine the current order. Now I'm pretty sure there is a way to do that. And if I remember right, it was when we were doing the actual sort beforehand, it was setting a certain CSS class on it. And I wish that I had wrote down what they were. So what we're going to have to do is I'll go in here. I'm going to make a new page just to experiment with. This will be, we'll just leave it untitled 1. I won't be keeping this page, but this is just so I can see the native behavior. We'll just put order on there again. We'll save. Now in our browser, we'll open a new tab, and okay, so now we can see our default behavior. I'll do Option Command J, bring up the developer tools, and we'll drill into this description one here. So we've got okay, so let's sort that. Okay, so you can see the two classes here as we click. So this is how we're going to find the current direction. So, okay. So we've got the index. We need to find the current direction. Okay, so I would think when we were in here, we have our event.dom gives us the DOM element, and I would think in there that, or right there, that DOM element would have the class applied or not applied. So we have the DOM element in this event. So we're going to go like this. If event.dom, and it's in position 0, that's the actual element. And then, so if event DOM, and I want to know if it built or has a specific CSS class. So I just looked at the jQuery site quickly, and there is a has class selector. So we'll wrap this DOM element in jQuery, and we'll do has class, and we're going to look for ascending. The reason being is in the else here. So we're going to look for, let me just set up my if and else here. Okay, has class, and the name of it again was WAF sort ascending. So just WAF hyphen sort a WAF hyphen sort ASC. So the reason I'm going to do that, because if there's no sort, we want it to go to descending by default. So in the else is where we're going to apply the descending. So right here, what we're doing is we're working towards getting the current sort order. So get the current column sort order, and we may as well put a variable up here, and we may be able to just skip this and do everything in the if. In fact, I think that's what we'll do. So if it is in the ascending mode, then what we're going to want to do is reverse it to descending, because they've clicked away from that. So I've actually got this backwards. We're going to do descending. So if it's descending, we for sure know that we want to go ascending. So we're going to go, let me look at this command because I've never used it. Set sort indicator, column, and sort order. Okay, so it's data grid 1 is the ID. data grid 1 dot set sort indicator. No, that's not going to be right. Set sort indicator. Yeah, no, that's going to be right because we're going to pass in the index. So we've got our grid set sort indicator. We have our index, which is clicked index. And we want to go now to ascending, which I think they just want us to pass something like that. Yep. Okay, so that should work. And then else, we're going to do the opposite. So if it doesn't have this class, so it might have nothing or it might have ascending. Either case, we want to go to descending. So if it's the initial use case, we're going descending, and if it's ascending, we're going descending. So let's see. In here, we're also going to want to do the physical sort. So that's an easy one. We're just going to go sources dot, what did I name it? Order. So sources dot order. Should just use the type head there. Dot order by, and you just put in the column that we want to sort by. So this is the one thing we don't have yet, is we don't have the column name. So how are we going to solve that? Now there are a few ways of doing this. I'm going to comment this out just so it will run. We'll do a save. I'm going to go back to, the answer is it's in this event. So where do we have the event firing? It should be in the index. Okay. So when we click, we get the event. So we're on our debugger here. And if we look at the event object in the DOM element 0, you'll see we have something called, oh no, sorry, it's not in here. It's in event sort, no, title 0. Here we go. So event.title element 0 inner text. There's our column name. Now this is going to be brittle in that my column name is going to need to be named the same as my actual model attribute name. If we didn't do that, we would have to do an if and sort of translate if the title name of the, so basically we'd have to do if this title equals, then do the sources sort on this. But I'm going to use this string directly. I'll show you what I mean because I didn't explain that well. But sources.order by, and I'm going to go here to event dot, and what did I say it was? Title dot, element 0, so that's an array dot inner text. So that is going to get us the string of the title of the grid. So it's going to get us description. Now if I had changed this title to something different, name for instance, and it didn't exactly line up to the model here, so say these were different, what I would have to do is in this script I would have to put a conditional checking that if it equals name, then do sources order by, and I'd have to translate basically, but I'm not going to have to in this case. So we've got that inner text plus ASC. So it's going to pass in description space, I should put a space, ascending, and that's going to actually order the source in the list. We'll do the opposite below, and this will be descending, and this should work. I'm I'm going to have faith and just take this debugger off. And let's try running it. So wholesale, click, descending by default. All right, clicked again, it's not going ascending, so I need to debug that. So we've got our initial working, so let's take a quick read and see why we made a mistake here. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'll just put a debugger here, and we'll watch it go through. So I'm going to reload, and first click works. So we'll do step over, went into else. So this has class, oh no, that's right, it went into else because there's nothing. So that's fine. It did it, ordered it descending, that's correct. Our second click, now we've got debugger, and let's just get rid of, so event DOM 0 has class, so I'm just going to take this. We're going to see what the actual value of that statement is. Collapse some of these. So not available. Why would that be not available? Oh, I have to get the jQuery front end of this. So it's saying false, has, so that should be true. So let's dig in a little more. Let's take out the evaluator here, and we'll just look at what classes it does have. So this will be the DOM element. Class list. Oh, I think I'm on, oh, we've got the whole thing here, and what we actually want is something inside of this. If we go back to our example, so it's grabbing the entire class header. This is what we were looking at, and that's not where it sets the CSS. It's actually that, and then the child with class WAF sort. So we're going to have to adjust this a little bit to get into this level and then ask it if it has the, okay. So rather than here, we want event DOM and then space dot WAF. Hold on one second. So we need to drill down to that. So we've got the actual DOM. There is no ID, is there? Just want to see if we have an ID at that level that we can work with. Nope. So I think we can go to, I think predictably we can say that it is the second child. So the second child element. So what we'll do is we'll go, okay, we've got it here, and then we'll go dot children, and then element, the second element in that array. Now that should fix us up, because we're going to look at the entire header, the group of children, the first child in that array, and see if it has the class. So let's take a look and see if that worked. So refresh on the index. Click one works, so we're just, well, I guess we can check it right here. So let's see. We'll take this entire jQuery statement. We'll see which element we're getting. So I'll copy, put it in here, And so we've got, I think that's got it. There's no ID to tell for sure. Class name, WAF sort. So yes, we have it. Okay, so if we run this, has class. I think I've got an extra bracket in there. Got that. Those two. No? Okay. Oh, it's because right here it's no longer a jQuery object. Okay, so let's do this. Or we have the sort DOM element in here, the sort indicator, and that's what we're trying to evaluate with, isn't it? I think that's right. So I think we can just go, let's take this, just so we don't lose what we were thinking. I'll cut it. Let's put it in the comments in case we need it. But I think what we can do is go event dot sort sort indicator, I think it's called. On header, click event dot sort indicator. And I think it's under, we'll have to take a look at what it is. So I'm going to go back to index, going to refresh, and we're going to do a sort just to get up the console so we can see what's going on here, or get the debugger going. So I just want to see what event is. Sort indicator 0, and that gives us our DOM. Sort indicator 0. So if jQuery of that element has class, where were we? This right here. Save. This can probably go, but I'm going to keep it until we test it. Okay, let's reload. Let's try it. Okay. So let's just see what this works out to be. False. So it should be false right now, so okay. And then the next time around, true. Alright, I think we've got it. So let's take the debugger out, let's take this out, and let's do our final test, and then we'll wrap this video up. So debugger gone, save, reload, first click, descending, second click, ascending, descending, ascending, perfect. First click, descending, there, we've got it working. There we go, and you've hopefully learned how I go about working through some of these non-standard features that I want.